I would do two things, Eric. First of all, we've got to stimulate this economy. And I've already laid out and mentioned my 5-point plan for stimulating the economy. Not indirect stimulus, not more government spending, direct stimulus. We've got to lower the top corporate tax rate from 35 to 25%. We are the only nation on the planet that hasn't done this. And we also must bring down the top personal tax rates. It worked in the 20s, it worked in the 60s, it worked in the 80s. It'll work again in this decade. Number two, take capital gains tax rates to zero. Yes, zero. Stop punishing the people who are taking the risk in investing in new businesses. Number three, suspend taxes on repatriated profits. Those profits that have been generated by multinational companies overseas, those profits are going to stay there until we stop penalizing money that comes back home. Number four, give the American worker and the American employer a real payroll tax holiday with a 6.2% payroll tax holiday for a year for the employee and the employer. Those are direct stimuli, Eric. They have worked throughout history. And then here's the fifth thing that we do. Once we put all of these in place, make the tax rates permanent. We've got to remove this veil of uncertainty off of this economy if we're going to get it going.
I like the last one. Look what's happened since President Obama went ahead and signed Bush tax cuts 2 years into the future. Look what's happened to the market. The economy is actually growing jobs for the first time in 2 years. And that only happened. It lines directly up perfectly up with the signing of that bill, extending the Bush tax cuts.
But Eric, that growth would be a whole lot more if we couple that removing the uncertainty with those other measures that I talked about. And then if we do that, then what I would do as president is I would do a horizontal cut across the board of about 10%, and then I'd do a vertical deep dive. This is what CEOs do. This is what leaders do. And you go into each agency and identify programs that are outdated, programs that are not working, or programs that have overlapping with other things. Figure out what we can afford, and I believe that we could put a big dent in helping to bring down this national debt.
All right, Mr. Cain, we only have about 30 seconds or so. Would you allow the debt ceiling to be exceeded in America? Would you vote against raising the debt ceiling?
I would vote against raising the debt ceiling. And here's what I would do instead. Identify those critical things that we need to make sure we pay, and then we cut wherever we have to cut in order to not to raise the debt ceiling. Let's make sure that we pay the interest on the debt that we owe, make sure that we take care and pay our military and their families. Thirdly, let's take care of people who are living off of Social Security. And if we do those three critical things, then we can take a look at everything else in terms of where we need to cut. Well, it might mean a furlough of federal workers, which is not a bad idea.
Very quickly, Mr. Boehner last night mentioned that he would be interested, he would be allow a debt ceiling raise if there were equal cuts in spending. Is that fair?
It's fair, but it is another stall tactic. Quite frankly, I'm disappointed with Representative Boehner for putting that on the table. This Congress has shown that it does not have the ability to stop spending. I think that they are just avoiding the tough choice. Don't raise the debt ceiling, pay for the stuff that's critical, and then the other things are going to have to be forced mandatory cuts.
There it is, a few minutes of common sense with Mr. Herman Cain. Thank you very much, sir.